We're going to finish by hearing from an entrepreneur, someone who's built an extraordinary company in Graphcore, an author, someone who wrote a book literally called How AI Thinks, someone who is deeply involved in public service on the board of UK Research and Innovation, except Nigel Toon isn't going to take us through his story, his entrepreneurial journey, as much as answer a very specific question. How do we make the UK a frontier tech economy? Nigel is brilliantly placed to answer the question. We're so grateful to him for being here. Everybody, Nigel Toon. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. And I do hate this photograph, but there we go. So we're here to talk about growth. But the problem is we're currently trying to solve the symptom rather than focusing on the cause of the problem to support growth. And that's what I want to try and get into. So first of all, what I want you to do is imagine a country that missed the internet boom. A country that doesn't have any of its own local search engines, doesn't have any really big e-commerce businesses, no social media platform, no messaging app. A country that is totally dependent on foreign-owned cloud computing platforms, including for its own government and even for its military and security services. How would their stock exchange have managed to survive and remain globally relevant in a world where they have no trillion-dollar tech companies on their listings? Imagine the massive impact this would have had on the country's economic growth over the last 15 to 20 years. Tax revenues would be in decline, despite personal tax rates being at the highest level ever. And national debt would still be rising, with more and more people having to survive from one paycheck to the next. Well, unfortunately, we don't have to imagine. We live here. It's the UK. But there are many other countries in this same predicament. And the UK actually has huge potential. We're home to 4 of the world's top 10 universities. We're underfunding our universities and, causing them to be in terrible strife, but we still have an amazing university ecosystem. Let's not blow that piece. And we have incredible strength in our scientific research. I've seen it firsthand. I sit on the board of UKRI. I've seen the amazing research that our universities are employing. And we've seen some of that here today in the amazing quick talks that we've seen. There is incredible research and innovation happening in this country. And we are world leaders in artificial intelligence. Most of Google's Gemini AI program is developed here in London. London is probably one of the strongest AI ecosystems. It rivals Silicon Valley, it rivals Beijing as a place where AI is at the leading edge. So we live in a very, very special country. So how do we turn these advantages into economic growth? So from my experience, spending a huge amount of time in Silicon Valley, in China, I've never lived in Silicon Valley. I worked out once that I have spent about 7 years of my life there just traveling to Silicon Valley. You just got to go there. It's almost a benefit of being in the UK. You have to get on a plane and you have to go to where the market is. And it's similar with China. And the answer in these places isn't money. Yes, access to capital is absolutely critical. But the City of London has what? 12 trillion under management? We have the money. There's no lack of capital here. So the challenge is, how do we allocate this money for maximum effect. And that means we need to deliver a pipeline of investable businesses that have the ability to really scale. And that means we need a really powerful innovation ecosystem. Yes, we need money, but what we really need is human capital, specialized talent that is going to drive this innovation ecosystem. So let's have a look at the innovation ecosystem and think of it as a chain, a simple chain, where the weakest link will undermine the whole system. Let's try and look at each piece of the chain in turn. First, company creation. Whether it's spin-outs coming out of our amazing universities or entrepreneurs who spotted a gap in the market, we wring our hands and think, oh, we should do a better job. Yes, we can provide more support for university spin-outs. Yes, we can prepare early-stage companies better. Yes, we can provide better mentoring. Yes, we could improve their cap tables and make them more investable. It's a key issue here in the UK. But this part of the innovation ecosystem isn't broken. It's actually starting to work quite well. And the proof is in capital allocation. In 2023, according to Dealroom, and the numbers for 24 are similar, seed stage and early stage companies that are raising between $1 and $15 million, these types of companies in Silicon Valley raised $4.5 billion. Here in the UK, $4.1 billion. That part of the ecosystem isn't broken. It's actually doing quite well. However, if we jump to the end of the chain, the scale-up phase, companies here who are raising $100 million plus rounds, these companies in the UK's raised $7 billion. But in Silicon Valley, these companies raised $35 billion. So everybody says there's a scale-up problem. Well, the problem is, it's actually the bit in the middle. Something went wrong in the bit in the middle, which is the piece nobody really talks about. And what we've got to understand is that the odds are stacked against startup companies. We've got to understand the power law of VC investing, where only a few will actually become the outliers. Most in the middle, many will fail, some won't scale. And only a few will go on to drive growth. So look at the public markets. 64,000 listed companies around the world, 1,500 account for $76 trillion of growth that we've seen since 1990. That's just 2.4% of public companies which are really driving the economic growth. 2.4%. And private companies are the same. Of 150,000 VC-backed companies, just 1.8% reach unicorn status. Very tiny percentage. And VC's ability to pick multiple winners in this space, don't tell me this is something that is tuned and everybody knows what to do, about 8 basis points. Tiny. But just 70 public companies that were all originally VC-backed have driven $30 trillion of that growth. And 7 of those companies account for more than half of that. So this is the point, is a few big companies will make all the difference. But to get to these winning companies, they need a lot of help and support. So my view is it's not a lack of capital that's holding us back in the UK. It's a lack of this correct type of support. What we need to do is to improve the chances of these companies to grow. And the real issue is what I did call the all-important early growth stage. It's the stage between startup and the stage before scale-up. And governments talk about scale-up, but they never seem to talk about this important piece because they really don't understand it. This is our weak link. In Silicon Valley, these growth stage companies raising maybe $15 million to $50 million in a Series A or Series B funding round, they received about $14 billion of investment, only about $7 billion here in the UK, and that's coming in the form of smaller checks. It's not less companies, it's smaller checks that are going into these companies. But it's not the money or the lack of money that's holding these companies back. If you're based in Silicon Valley and you get A round or B round investment from Benchmark, Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz, you don't just get money. Your cap table is fixed. Incentives are aligned. You get to meet all of the leaders of the big tech companies because actually those VCs mostly funded them. You get access to mentors who've actually built global businesses. And the interest of the VC in the entrepreneurs is completely different as well. It's not about taking more of the cake, which seems to be the case in the UK. It's actually about building a bigger cake where everybody wins. So this is the challenge, I think, that we have. And when you're hiring your CMO, you go to meet a CMO of another fast-growing company and you see what world-class looks like. This is the difference. You get a product management process, one of the things we struggle with here, and you build a sales engine that can actually grow and scale globally. Then you have a business that you can pour money into and it will grow and scale. Some of them. So this, I think, is the link that is broken in our system, this early growth stage. This is what we need to go and fix. We need to be able to build these companies, create better growth signals. We need the scale-up capital will then follow if we can support these companies, because the capital is there. And this is what these become the companies that our pension funds and our government funds need to invest in, not the inverse selection problem that we're currently facing, where the money's going to the company that was failing anyway. It needs to go to the ones who are going to succeed. So we need to turn our amazing scientific research, our world leadership in AI, and build this opportunity. And there's examples. We've done really well in deep tech. We should be able to do the same in fintech, I should say. We should be able to do the same in AI deep tech. So we need to fix this problem. We need to support more ex-founders like me to become VCs. I'm in the process of building a venture fund. I'll pass the hat around later. But we need more of entrepreneurs helping these companies to grow and the next generation of founders to come through and achieve this growth. And I'm going to leave you with one simple question. Why last year did we encourage £90 billion of public's money to be invested in cash ISAs? And only £9 billion went into VC in the UK. And most of that didn't come from the UK. Most of it came from foreign money invested into UK funds. What's going wrong here? So, we need to learn from the internet era. We can't miss the AI boom. We missed the internet. We can't miss the AI boom. We've got to ensure that companies receive VC banking, get the correct support. We've got to help them through this early growth stage, and we've got to allow ourselves the opportunity to build the world's largest companies. We've got the capability here. It's really just a case of helping to build this ecosystem and focusing on building this ecosystem. So thank you. Thank you to London Partners for organising such an amazing event.